Is Hare Krishna. Better? Okay. So, welcome everybody to our fifth session. Let us start by invoking the divinity. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so today we are going to be covering the fifth session today called Material Nature and Time. So the previous three sessions we have been covering one subject each. Now in this session we are going to cover two subjects out of the five subject matters. Can somebody recall to me what the five subject matters are? Just anyone shout out. What are the five subject matters of the Bhagavad-Gita that we have discussed so far? Okay, number one, head, soul. Okay, number two, karma. Okay, number three, God. And then number four is here, which is material nature. And number five, we had time. Okay? So, this is what we had discussed. Okay. So, this topic tells us who we are. It tells us, number four tells us where we are. Number two tells us what are we doing here. Number five tells us how long have we been doing that here. And number three tells us, is there anything beyond these four things? And yes, that is the last one. Okay? So, material nature and time. So, material nature is known as Prakriti. Okay? So, what is Prakriti? Now, we have Prakriti and we have Purusha. Purusha means the enjoyer and Prakriti means that which is enjoyed. Just like we have a person and we have got money. Money is a form of energy and it is utilized to derive benefit for a person. So the person who is deriving benefit from money is called Purusha and money acts as Prakriti. Okay? It is that which is to be enjoyed. Similarly, the only enjoyer, the supreme enjoyer is God. And that which is enjoyed is this entire material creation that He has created. Okay? Now, Prakriti is of two types. We discussed this in chapter 7, text 4 and chapter 7, text 5. Does anyone want to read those two verses? Can I have somebody from this table to read? Chapter 7, text 4 and text 5.
Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and procedure, all together in states of truth, are separate material energies.
And 7.5?
Besides this almighty operational, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exposed resources of this material inferior nature.
Okay, so in 7.4, Krishna is talking about the material or the inferior energy of God, and he is saying that there are 8 separated energies. These 8 are further broken into 5 and 3. There are 5 gross matter, which is earth, air, water, fire, ether, and then there are three subtle elements, which is mind, intelligence, and false ego. Okay? And then in 7.5, Krishna says that apart from the material energy or the inferior energy, you have the spiritual energy or the superior energy, which consists of all us souls. Okay, we are all souls. So the question then comes is, why did God create Prakriti? Why did He create this world and us? Why did He create that? So if I ask you a question, why do you have children? All the parents in this room, why did you decide to have children? Can anyone answer? Why did you decide to have children? Yes. Survive and help us. So basically, in a way, you're trying to say that there is some sort of relationship you wanted to have, yeah? So same thing, God created us for Him to have loving relationships with us. Okay? That's the reason why we have children. We have children because we want to experience love. Now we cannot experience love with innate objects. We need an animate object or animate person with whom we can have loving relationships with. So Bhagavan created us souls, but now some of these souls, like all of us here, did not want to reciprocate. Sometimes you have children, but then they grow up to become quite naughty and quite disobedient. They don't look up to their parents. Yeah? So originally you decided, okay, I'll have children so that they will have loving relationships with me. But then somehow they turn out to become disobedient and basically rebellious. But why do they do that? Can you control your children forever? No, you cannot control your children. If I put a gun on somebody's head and tell them, now you love me, that person will not show pure loving relationship because it is forced upon that person. Pure loving relationships are only possible when there is free will. So Bhagavan has endowed all the souls with free will. Now that free will is up to us to utilize whether we want to serve God and have loving relationships with God, or do we want to enjoy ourselves, or do we want to put ourselves in God's position and try to enjoy for ourselves. So that is the souls. The souls can be in both areas. They can be with God or they can be here in this material universe. Okay? So let us learn about the people, us, who are rebellious to God's loving relationship with God. And so what did God do? He said that, okay, if you want to be rebellious and you don't have loving relationships with me and you have a desire that you want to enjoy yourself, well, you cannot do this in the kingdom of God because over there's only one supreme. So if you want to become supreme yourself, you have to do it in a place which is away from the kingdom of God. And so, just to satisfy our desires to become the enjoyer, He has created this entire material universe, which is like our playground. So here we are striving to become the biggest, the best. We want to try and exploit. We want to try and become the highest we can become. We basically want to become the best. We have this tendency to want to dominate either people or either nature. Okay? So let us learn about what this material universe is made up of, which is this section, the Parashakti. Okay? So our universe is actually very large in size, and it is in a shape of an egg. That is why it is called Brahma Anda. The word Anda represents the egg shape. So Brahmanda means the universe. It's very big. Okay? In this, there are 14 planetary systems. Okay? So we have this like big egg. Okay? And then there are 14 14 planetary systems divided into three parts: the upper, the middle, and the lower. Okay. So what we consider the upper are the heavenly planets. What we consider the lower are the hellish planets, and what we consider the middle is the earthly planets. Okay. Now, in all these 14 planetary systems, there is birth and death. Can somebody read chapter 8, text number 16 from this table here, right in the middle?
From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are pieces of misery, where repeated birth and death take place. But one who begins to my abode, most suffer fully, never takes birth again.
Okay, so do you remember we discussed that the four fundamental problems that everyone goes through? Everyone who has got a body, who is embodied, has got four fundamental problems in life. What are the four fundamental problems? Does anyone know? Sham. So the first one is birth, okay, death, then disease and old age. So if you have a body, you have the four fundamental problems. You have birth, you have old age, you have disease, and then you have death, which is, we call it Yamraj. Yeah? Death. Okay? So, this is there in all the planets, in all the planetary systems. It doesn't matter whether you're in the highest or whether you're in the lowest. You are going to go through these four difficulties. Okay? So, and now below the lower, we have the right at the bottom, actually, we have the hellish planets, like the actual hell. So these are just planetary systems, but the actual hell is right at the bottom, and there are, I think, 26 in total. 26 different types of hells. Okay. Now, this whole big egg shape is compared to just be like a small mustard seed, like rai ka dana. That small, and if you put a whole bag full of mustard seeds and just take one mustard seed out of that, that is how our universe is compared to the entire material creation. Okay? And so for each universe has its own Brahma, each universe has its own Vishnu and its own Shiva. Okay? So you can imagine that there are going to be innumerable amount of Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshas in each different universes. Okay? So, what we mean is Prakriti is eternal and material world is not. Let's see what it is. So all these universes, they are created, they are maintained, and they are destroyed in a continuous eternal cycle. Okay? And all these universes, not only ours, but many others, they are all a manifestation of the Apara Shakti, okay, the material energy. And when universes are destroyed, Prakriti returns to its original unmanifest state. So how do we can understand this? We can understand this through the example of a cake. Okay? So, how many of you are bakers over here? How many of you baked a cake before? You baked a cake. How many different ingredients did you put together to make a cake? Okay, there's flour, there's sugar, there's cocoa, baking soda. Yeah, there's so many different individual ingredients you've created or you've used to make a cake. Similarly, there are 8 separated energies. These 8 separated energies are combined in certain ways to create this entire material universe. So it's like we are basically deconstructing the cake. If you watch like a recipe video backwards, you start with the final product and then you walk all the way backwards. Then you see that, oh, there was this ingredient put into this, there was this ingredient put into this. Yeah, so you'll be able to see all the ingredients that went into making the cake. So it's just like a deconstructing of the cake video. So you are basically, when the universe is destroyed, all the permutations are destroyed, and slowly, it basically goes to the 8 different material energies that Bhagwan has, and it goes into its unmanifest state. Now, Prakriti by itself is inert or unconscious, and it needs superior direction and control of the Lord. So, this chair is not going to move at all until somebody picks it up and moves it. Okay? So, matter on its own cannot act. It needs to be acted upon. And it's acted upon by a spiritual force. Yeah? Whether it's a chair that is being acted upon by a spiritual force, because I am the soul within this body. If the soul is not there, this body is not going to move, and this body will not be able to even lift the chair. Okay, the soul is not there. So, Prakriti is inert and unconscious, and it needs superior direction. Now, there is a very nice analogy to understand this. There is mud, there is a mud pot, and then there is a potter. The mud will always stay, but the pot will be put into different shapes by the potter. The potter stays, the mud stays, but the mud pot comes into being, stays for a while, and is eventually destroyed. And it basically it gets destroyed and it mixes back with the mud. Okay? So out of these 3 things, 2 things are eternal. That is, the mud remains, which is Prakriti, and the potter remains, which is God. But the pots, which are called the universes, they will come and go. Okay? Now, this is just the material world. But what is the spiritual world like? So the spiritual world is a world beyond the entire material creation. If this is just one universe, and there are many universes like this, like just like this, there is one place which is known as the spiritual world, away and beyond all these things. Okay? So, in the spiritual world, it is called Vaikunta. Kunta means anxiety, Vai means no. So, Vaikunta means no anxiety. No anxiety of what? That there is nothing of this sort. There is no birth, there is no old age, there is no disease, and there is no death. It is continuous eternal existence. Okay? Somebody wants to read 8.20 and 8.21 in that table there.
Yet there is another unmanifest nature, which is eternal and is consubstantial in this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated, when all in this world is unannihilated, but God remains as it is.
21, please. That which the Vedas describe as unmanifest and equally that which is known as the supreme destination, the place from which, having attained it, one never returns. That is my supreme. Supreme Lord. Okay, so this is very interesting. Let us break this down. It says, yet there is another unmanifest nature. Unmanifest. What it means is that this place was never created and will never be annihilated. So what it means manifest, the word manifest means it comes into being. So the word unmanifest means that it never came into being. It was always there. It was always eternal. So when you say unmanifest, it means it was always eternal. That's what the word unmanifest means in 8.20, which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. Hare Krishna, can you hear me? Yeah. So what is being said here is that the material world, it comes into being, so it is manifest, yeah, just like a mud pot. A mud pot comes into being, so it is manifest. The mud is manifested into a mud pot, and then the mud pot is destroyed, so it becomes unmanifest because it goes back from a mud pot back to mud. So the material world, it's manifesting and then it is unmanifesting, right? It is, so here it is supreme and it is never annihilated. When all this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Okay, is it clear so far? Yeah. Okay. And that which the Vedantas describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as a supreme destination, that place from which having attained it one never returns, that is my supreme abode. So Krishna is saying that this spiritual world is actually my abode, and where all these things don't take place. Okay? If you want a proportion, the spiritual world is 3/4 of the entire creation, and the whole material universe or world is just a quarter of Bhagwan's creation. And within this quarter, we are like one small mustard seed in a whole bag. That whole bag of mustard seeds is just a quarter of his creation. The 3/4 of it is the spiritual world. Okay? So, they are countless. Again, just as there are many different material universes, in the spiritual world, there are countless number of spiritual planets, but there are two types. One is called Golok Vrindavan or Krishna Lok, and then the others are called Vaikuntha planets. Okay? So in Golok Vrindavan or Krishna Lok, Krishna exists in his original two-handed form, and in the Vaikuntha Loks, he exists as the four-handed Vishnu form. Okay? So he expands into the four-handed Vishnu forms in the other Vaikuntha planets, but in his own planet, which is the highest planet in the entire existence, he is there in his original two-handed form. Okay? Now, let us go through the creation and destruction of the entire material world. How does this come about? Okay, how does this come about? And then how does it get destroyed? So, let's go. Okay. So there is a spiritual world. Okay. Here Krishna exists. Okay. This is where Krishna is. Okay. Then there are a series of expansions. Okay. We won't go to the details, but if anyone is interested afterwards, we can have a discussion and tell you what that sort of expansions take place. Now, from all these expansions, we get to, actually, let's do it different. We get to a personality known as, Mahavishnu. Okay? Now, from Mahavishnu, what happens is that he is very huge. Okay? And he is in a state of yoga nidra. So he is always transcendentally sleeping. And when a person sleeps, you continue to breathe, right? You still breathe when you're sleeping. It's not like when you're sleeping, everything is finished. You're still breathing. So when Mahavishnu breathes, when he breathes outwards, from every pore of his body, a universe expands. Okay? A universe expands from every pore of his body when he's breathing out. And when he's breathing in, all the universes are collapsing and going back into him. And then when he breathes out again, another set of universes come out. And when he breathes in, all the universes come back into him. Okay? So, he breathes in and breathes out. Then, what happens after he's breathed out? Then all the universes are there. Then Mahavishnu expands into Bhargo, Daka, Shai Vishnu. Okay? So Mahavishnu, after he's breathed out, in each of the universes, he enters and he perspires. He perspires and fills half the universe with his own perspiration. And then he sits down there on Ananta Shesh. And Lakshmi Devi is his eternal consort. And so basically that's what he does. He has created the universe structure and he enters into it as Garbo Dakshai Vishnu. Then from here, he creates two things, okay? The first thing he creates is the first living entity. Okay? Now this living entity comes from a lotus flower that is growing from his navel. And then on the top of the lotus flower, there is the first living entity which is born in the entire universe. Anyone wants to guess who this is? Lord Brahma. So this is Lord Brahma. Okay? Now what does Lord Brahma do? Lord Brahma, he is born and he doesn't know where he is. It's completely dark. He searches, he's bewildered, he's confused. Where have I come? And then he hears a voice that says that you have to do penances, tapa. And then he does a lot of tapa and he pleases Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu imparts all the knowledge that he requires to create all the planetary systems. Yeah. So what does Mahavishnu do? He just creates the shell. He just creates the universe shell, and then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he comes and he enters and he sleeps inside the shell, and then from his navel, the lotus flower is grown. Brahma is in the top, and then he's like, where am I? And then after he gets knowledge from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he then sets out to do the secondary creation. The primary creation was done by Vishnu. Secondary is done by Lord Brahma. Now Lord Brahma has created all the 14 planetary systems. He's got all the knowledge from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, to maintain matter, as we said already, that matter needs superior direction. Okay, it needs superior direction. So Garbhodakshaya Vishnu then expands into Shiro Daka Shai Vishnu. Okay? Now, so we have got the three Vishnus: Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Shirodakshaya Vishnu. Okay? Shirodakshaya Vishnu is that part of God who is there sustaining every atom and is with us as the super soul. Paramatma is basically Shirodakshaya Vishnu. Okay? So okay, now let's come to this table here, the middle back. Can somebody, one person read 18.61 and another person write 15.15?
The the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy.
Okay.
I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness by all the Vedas and beyond. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas.
Alright, so here in both the places he says that I am the person sitting in the heart of every living entity, and that refers to the Paramatma or the super soul feature. Okay? And in the Brahma Samhita, I'll read it out to you. It says, all the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe, at one at the same time. Such is the primeval Lord that I adore. Okay? So this is all to do with the creation and maintenance. Okay? So next we have, how is it destroyed? And the universe is destroyed by Lord Shiva in his Rudra form when he is performing the dance of destruction. Okay? And then once all the planets are destroyed, and that is like basically in our example is like deconstructing the cake. Like the cake had already got so many mixtures in it, but with the dance of destruction, everything is basically being deconstructed, and then all the stuff goes back into Shirodakshaya, which goes back into Mahavishnu. Okay? And then Mahavishnu breathes in. So this is all happening while he's breathing in. Destruction is happening then. Okay? Now this material world, we can compare this to be like a spider's web. How so? So in a spider's web, as a spider spins its webs and after a while it winds the web back into itself, similarly the Supreme Lord creates this material world and after a while he pulls it back within himself. Breathes out, breathes in. So he's creating and then he's pulling it back in just like a spider. Now as a spider web traps many flies and other insects, the illusory power called Maya, or in this case the energy called false ego. False ego is that energy that deludes us. It makes us think that we are the body and not the soul. So that is the illusory power. The illusory power, material energy, traps and binds those spirit souls who are rebellious to God. It binds us in material bodies and in a material conception of life. Now in a spider's web, the insects in the web struggle hard to free themselves, only to discover that they have become more tightly bound. Right? Similarly, we are already confused as to why there's so many difficulties coming in our life, and we try to address those difficulties through material solutions. But Einstein used to say that the thinking that was used when a problem came, you cannot use the same thinking when you're trying to solve it. Okay? So if you have material problems, you cannot solve them with material solutions. You need to solve them with spiritual solutions. Okay? And lastly, just as a fly in the web can only get free when someone who is outside the web frees them. Similarly, us living entities, we can only be freed when somebody is already free frees us. Okay? And this is basically either the Lord himself or his representative who knows how to get free. So we are bound, but we don't know how we are bound. So Shastra says that we have to understand how we are bound in this world. We are bound by the three modes of material nature. So the whole of material nature is constituted of three qualities known as, or gunas, known as sattva, rajas and tamas, or goodness, passion and ignorance. Okay? Everything in this world is characterized and influenced by these three modes, and they are all pervading. There is nowhere in this world where these qualities do not have an effect. Okay? We can understand this through the three primary colors. We have red, yellow and blue. If you mix and match just these three colors, you will get the entire color spectrum. Similarly, by the mix and matching of these three gunas, you get all varieties. Okay? And guna also means rope, which binds one to the material world. So sattva is like a golden rope, rajas is like a silver rope, and tamas is like an iron rope. But if you're a prisoner, does it matter whether the rope is golden, silver, or is it iron? You are still bound up. You're still a prisoner. It doesn't matter. So this is what we can understand as the three modes. All living beings are like a puppet in the hands of these three modes, but due to influence of Maya, one thinks himself to be the doer when it is in fact the three modes. Okay? So, now we go and have a quiz. So if we have like 5 minutes where we'll distribute like a quiz, and I want you guys to try and figure out what is characterized in which mode. Okay, we said already that everything in this world is characterized by the three modes. We have got examples, and we want you to see what mode is what object. Okay. Slaughterhouses, hospitals, and also passion. I mean, hospitals. It's for hospitals is good everything. There's passion, there's ignorance, and there's also goodness in there. Okay. Now, ghosts and spirits, ignorance. Demigods, goodness. Powerful men, athletes. All right. Qualities. We've got gentleness, goodness, mercifulness, lazy, abusive, competitiveness, passion, envious, ignorance, and jealousy. Okay, well done, well done. All right. So, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Can you hear me? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay. So, now we have seen all these things that are within the three modes, but Krishna is beyond the three modes. Okay? Let's understand this. So, Krishna, being the master of the three modes, Krishna is always transcendental to them. Yeah? Now, the people who are under the influence of the modes, like us, some people think Krishna to also be under the influence of the mode whenever he descends on this world. Okay? Krishna says in chapter 7, text number 13. Can I have somebody from the right at the back table to read chapter 7, text number 13?
Created by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am about the modes, and it makes us different.
Right? So Krishna says here that He is above the three modes. He doesn't get influenced by them. Alright? Next. Krishna says that he directs the workings of the entire material nature. This is in 9.10. I'll just read to you. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Okay? And if we desire freedom, we need to transcend the modes. Now, if we want to transcend, remember in the spider web, if you want to get free from the spider web, you need the help of somebody who is outside the spider web. Okay? So we need to approach and surrender to one who is beyond the modes. And this is either Krishna or his representatives. Now the next one, 7.14. You read 7.13. 7.14. Just read that one.
The divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it.
Okay, fantastic. So you understand the last point here? Krishna says, if somebody surrenders to me, I can easily remove you from this bondage. Okay? Now we come to the topic of time. That was the entire material nature. Now we look at time. Now for this, how many of you are good at mathematics? How many of you are good at mathematics? Raise your hand. Don't be shy. I know Devan is a good mathematician. He's an accountant. Okay. So, what is time? Time is basically one of the energies of the Lord. And because it is an energy, it is eternal. Time always exists in this material world. Okay? Krishna declares in chapter 10, verse number 33, that I am inexhaustible time. He says that. Now Krishna, he acts through the agency of time to control the world. Now due to the Kala Shakti, everything in this material world goes through the 6 changes. Everything is created, everything grows, everything matures, everything produces a byproduct. I mean, this is living entities in bodies. Then they decay, and then finally they destroyed or they are dead. So these 6 changes are effected by the power of time, which is an energy of Krishna. Okay? In chapter 11, text 32, Krishna says that time is the greatest subduer and ultimately destroys everything. Because at the end, death will come. Krishna says that I come in the form of the death. I come in the form of death to the people who are non-believers and or faithless. Krishna comes as time, and time finally is destruction or death. Okay? And time, this is very interesting. Time moves unidirectionally and creates the past, present, and future. So there is no like going back in time. It's always moving forwards. Okay? Now, since it is an energy of the Lord, it should be used wisely in His service. We have limited time on this earth. Yeah, we have limited time. So we need to use this time and recognize that it is Krishna's energy and Krishna's benediction that has given us this much time to live. So we need to use that time as wisely as possible, and the wisest thing is to cultivate ourselves to such a place and progress spiritually so that we can eventually surrender fully to God. Okay? Next. So now let us look at division of time. How is time calculated? Now, in the Vedic scriptures, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, for example, in Canto 3, Chapter 11, if somebody reads this, it's very interesting because it gives a very detailed breakdown of how time is calculated in this material world. It starts from a micro time scale, from how an atom moves, the time it takes for an atom to move, all the way to the universe time scale. Okay? So, let's go through this again. Let's go through this. So, time moves in this way. There are 4 yugs. Okay, this we are considering. This is the universal time scale. Micro and macro we know, days, months, years. That is micro and macro. We are now looking at universal time scales. Okay, so these 4 yugas. They are known as Satyug, Treta Yug, Dwapar Yug and Kali Yug. Okay, which yug are we in? Kali Yug. Okay. Now Kali Yug lasts for 4.32 million years. That's 432,000. Sorry. That's 432,000. Multiply this by 2. 432 times 2. So Dwapar Yug is for 864,000 years. Okay. So this is one part. This is 2 parts. Now Treta Yug is 3 times Kali Yug. So 3 times 432. So you get 1,728,000 years. And finally, this is 3 parts, and then this is 4 parts. Satyug is 4 times as long as Kali Yug. So 4 times 432 is equals to this is 1296. 1296 and 1728000. So you add this up. 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. 10. Okay. So 10 times Kali Yug. So basically add 1 0 here. So the whole 4 yug cycle, one 4 yug cycle lasts for 4.32 million years. Okay. Now let's go next. So now we are going to calculate the age of the universe. How many of you are excited? How many of you are excited? How many of you want to know how old this universe is? Alright. So 4 yugs, we have understood this to be, so the 4 yugs is equals to 4.32 million years, Earth years. Okay. Now 1,000 of these 4 yugas or 1,000 cycles, okay, multiplied by 1,000 equals to 4.32 what? Billion. Okay. So this 4.32 billion years is equals to 12 hours or just 1 day of Brahma, of Lord Brahma. Okay. Now we go next. Now if we want 24 hours, yeah, if this is 12 hours, is 4. Hare Krishna, can you hear me? Okay, if 12 hours is 4.32 billion years, then 24 hours is what? Times 2. So times 2 is equals to 8.64 billion years. That is 24 hours of Brahma. Now, that is 24 hours. That's 1 day. In 1 year of Brahma, there are 360 days. Now multiply this by 360. Okay? We get how many? Okay, we get 3 trillion and 110 billion and 40 million years. Yeah? 40 million years. Now, Brahma lives for 100 such years. So, multiply this by 100. So, how many have you got now? You've got 311 trillion and 40 billion Earth years. That is the entire lifespan of Lord Brahma. Now, this 311 trillion and 40 billion years is equals to how much? One breath of Mahavishnu. 1 breath of Mahavishnu is equals to 311 trillion and 40 billion Earth years. Okay? Now, This is just the entire material creation. Now, at the end of every day, of Brahma, so one day of Brahma is 8.64 billion years. Okay. At the end of 8.64 billion years, how many of Hare Krishna? Okay. So remember we discussed that there were the Brahmanda. Yes. Now there are 14 layers, right? There are 14 layers. So we divide it into 3 and 11. Okay. Brahma, he lives on the top in his own loka called Brahma Loka, which is right on the top. But then there are two more lokas called Janalok and Tapalok. These three loks, they stay as it is. But at the end during Brahma, 12 hours of his day, he is creating. He's created this 14. But at the end of during the night, when Brahma is sleeping, then 11 planetary systems are destroyed and 3 remain. And then when he wakes up the next day, he redoes this 11 planetary systems. So in one way, Earth is somewhere here. Earth's the earthly planets, they keep on basically being destroyed and created every like around 4 billion years. Okay. So, but this is just to show you how long the life of Brahma is compared to us. But that long lifetime is only equals to one breath of Mahavishnu. Okay. It just goes to show how insignificant we are. Okay. So, is there anyone got any more questions after this? Yes. Yeah. It's true. Even our universe has got, how many heads does Brahma have? How many heads does Brahma have? How many do you know? 4 heads, right? That is the least amount of heads. There are Brahmas with 8 heads, the Brahmas with 64 heads, the Brahmas with 1000 heads, and the Brahma with millions of heads. Our universe is the smallest universe out there. It is the smallest because the capabilities of Brahma is the least in our universe. Now, if in our universe you think this is so magnificent, then imagine the universes of Brahma which have got 8 heads, 16 heads, 64 heads, even millions of heads. Yeah? Imagine. Okay, so I think this is enough mind-blowing information right now. But yes, so this is just to show you the power of Krishna. Okay, that he can create such long life for Brahma, and yet for him this is insignificant. This is just like one breath. Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay. Anyone got any more questions? Otherwise, thank you so much. And tomorrow, next week, we are going to have the final session, and hopefully, we will try and amalgamate all the things that we have learned so far into that one last session. Okay. So thank you so much for paying attention. And yes, and we have a very senior Prabhupada disciple who is coming tomorrow, and then we have a movie screening of Prabhupada and ISKCON and how it came about. And we are going to have the screening here on Sunday. So please come by 7 o'clock so that we can take part and enjoy this transcendental movie that is being made about Prabhupada and ISKCON. And then we have the same program being done in Ranjoni. So if you cannot make it on Sunday here, the same, yeah. Yeah, we'll just put it after the class. Yeah. So the same movie screening will also be done in the Ganjoni temple on Tuesday, and then Wednesday we have Ram Navami. So it's a very very auspicious day. Please come to the temple program on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, 6:30. Yes, 6:30 we are going to have the Ram Navami program starting here, and then on next Thursday we are going to have another presentation by the senior Prabhupada disciple who is coming tomorrow, and on Friday I think he's going. So at least make sure you come on Sunday, and if you cannot come Sunday here, make sure you go Tuesday in Ganjoni, and then come here for Wednesday Ramnavami and Thursday for PowerPoint presentation by the senior disciple of Prabhupada. His name is Yadubara Prabhu. Okay? Thank you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you. Hare Krishna.